So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third and last workshop of the Grad Money Hour series that we are co-hosting with PowerCap Financial. We have great things planned for this evening. We are very excited to have you here today. And a couple of notes. So the past sessions, they were all recorded. So they're all available in our GSC Student Affairs website. I'm going to be dropping the link in the chat box in case you want to access those, any information about the past sessions. So we have a lot of time for questions. If you want to ask any questions during the session, that's totally fine. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat. So if you want to post a question there, I can help you deliver the question to Jackie. If I start hearing just some background noise coming from maybe one of you, I might mute your microphone, but feel free to unmute yourself anytime. Don't worry about that. We encourage questions. And I would just like to introduce our amazing guest speaker. So Jackie not only broke the cycle of poverty, but retired decades before others told her she could, with a net worth of over $1 million. She is a certified educator in personal finance, an author of the award-winning book, Money Letters to My Daughter, was already recognized with a congressional commendation from the U.S. House of Representatives, and has been featured in multiple media streams like CNBC, MarketWatch, Forbes, Business Insider, People Magazine, and so on. And last but not least, like Jackie mentioned, she is a graduate student and almost graduating. So next month, we'll have her master's degree in personal financial planning and financial therapy at K-State. So thank you so much for being here, Jackie. And I'm giving you the floor now so we can start the workshop.
Hey. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for that introduction. And yeah, my greatest, the thing I'm most excited about these days is graduating. I never even thought I would be admitted into graduate school. I did so horribly in undergrad. So this is really, really a big deal for me. I got my graduation stuff in the mail yesterday. I'm coming to Kansas to graduate. So Chris, I'll meet you in person, and anyone else that want to meet up, it's like, it'll be the girl with the big smile on her face. So like Chris was saying, I have done a lot of work around personal finance, financial literacy, financial education, and was able to, reach financial independence and retired from my corporate job very early. And one of my dreams was to go back to school. So I'm honored that the Graduate Student Council and PowerCap Financial is allowing me to have this time with you guys to put together this series. So tonight we're going to talk all about transitioning to work. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. You're welcome to come off mic. We like to kind of do things pretty casually around here, but the whole goal is to make sure that you're getting the information that you need that could be helpful to you, especially as you transition to work, and that you get all your questions answered. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Chris. Here we go. Everybody seeing my screen okay? All right. So again, this is sponsored by the Graduate Student Council and PowerCap Financial. So I appreciate them for putting these together. Yay, like we said, it's Grad Student Appreciation Week. So you guys are amazing. And this is our week and frankly, our month, right? So I just always like to put this disclaimer just to say that everything we're talking about tonight is for information and educational purposes only. So I'm not giving any kind of specific, investment, tax, or any other professional advice. So here's our agenda for tonight and what we'll be covering. And as I reveal this, if there's anything in particular that's on your mind that you wanted to make sure would get answered tonight, feel free to put that in the chat. And even if it's not on the agenda, we'll be sure to talk about it at some point. So we're going to cover, you're on the right track. I'm going to just show you guys you're all headed in the right direction by being master's or PhD students. Then we're going to talk about preparing for getting the job. Salary realities, where we're talking about money and what salaries you can expect to get and how to do your own research on salary expectations. Then we have employee benefits, which is a big piece of any total compensation package. And then we'll talk about some SMART goals for your money so that you can make sure that you have everything organized and in place in terms of how your money is going to look once you graduate. So, does a college degree make a difference? Now, we have answered that again and again, but it is so worth repeating. So, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, even in the best of economic times, data show that workers who have higher levels of education, they typically earn more and they're less likely to be unemployed. So that's a good start right there. And these are the salaries. These are the average salaries you can expect to get based on your degree. So just start looking at the right side of the screen and how you see the salary, the average salary goes up as you earn more of an educational attainment. So the bachelor's is 68, the master's is 80, the doctoral is 98, and a professional degree is 99. Now, the professional degree would be like a doctor with with an MD or an attorney that might have a JD. But as you can see, straight up as you get more education. And then this just shows the unemployment numbers. These are the most recent I have for full year. They'll probably update it with 2020 pretty soon. But the whole theme here is that the higher unemployment is when you have less education. Like here, having a doctoral degree, you're gonna make more and you're less likely to be unemployed. So those are important things to say. You are already on the right track. And I always want to mention that for our international students, we have a lot of really good resources. So some of the financial topics that we talked about, they're very US centric and might not apply to some international students or not fully, but we do have a page on the K-State website. It basically is the website is at the bottom of your screen there, but it's just kstate.edu/ISSS. So if you're an international student, check out that page. There's scholarships there. There's so much good information to help you as someone that is, from another country to kind of navigate things at school. So the 2022 job market. So this is probably the most exciting thing about the fact that you guys will be graduating soon and in the job market. So what I did, I just pulled a few headlines. So this was one, and this was back in September. The job market is hot. Now is the time to build your career. Then here's another one. This headline is from April 1st. So this is less than a week ago. The job market continues to roar back. How long can the recovery keep going? And then this one came out on April 1st as well. America's job market is on fire. And then it says, here's why it doesn't feel like it. And the main reason is because of inflation. So even though it's a great time to be in the job market, the money's really good, you've got that little inflation piece that they kind of like to remind you of. But these are headlines that I would want to see if I was entering the job market. So you've already got one strike in your favor. So I've got a poll for you guys. So we're going to have a little fun here. This poll is about what do you think is the most important thing when you are searching for a job. So Chris is going to launch that poll for us. And I just need you to select what you think. What is your choice? Who you know, your education, experience, timing, or luck. So what do you think is the most important thing when you are searching for a job? I just want to get a sense of what you guys think really matters. So again, who you know, education, experience, timing, and luck. Which is the most important? So we're going to give you guys just a second to choose your selection, but it'll be interesting to see. And once we're done, I will give you sort of my ranking of what I think is sort of the most, they're all important, first of all, but if I had to rank them, I will tell you what I think really it ends up at the top, and everybody's could be different. So Chris, can we show any results? Are they coming in?
Okay. So let me close the poll. And then let me just share results.
Let's see. Okay, we've got 46% experience. So most people say experience. 38% says who you know. Very interesting. But some people said education, and some people said timing. Again, I feel like all of these are components of what is important. So none of these are wrong, but most people thought that the most important thing was experience. So let's see. So for me, here's how I would rank them. I put timing and luck there only because those are things that you don't have a lot of control over, but it's true on a macro level as far as the timing. Like right now, those headlines I showed you that the job market is on fire, that's pure timing. The people that came out of college in 2008, when all the jobs were dried up and you couldn't even get a job in your field for years after you graduated, that was a bad time. So timing, you don't have any control of. With the luck, you don't either, but sometimes you just kind of luck up. Now, again, those aren't, all of these are very important. And then you've got experience, education. 38% was who you know, and I will agree. And part of my presentation is going to show you different ways to use your relationships to look for a job. Because if you just start, the statistics person will probably love this, but it's not just a game of numbers. It's the quality of the relationships that you have or the ones that you build over time. So thank you guys for participating in that poll. So I want to make sure everyone is aware of the Graduate Student Council professional development. They do so many things, and they provide a whole series of webinars and presentations, but also there's a ton of other resources. So they your academic program will help you with things in your discipline and provide you with the knowledge and training in your field. However, the Graduate Student Council professional development, it helps you with the skills you need for leadership, organization, communication, all those other skills that are applicable no matter what field you're in. So that's where they come in to kind of give you an extra lift. So here, I'm going to mention just one event that is coming up that is going to cover a lot of this type of stuff. And it just happened to, be happening right after this on April 15th. So Chris is going to put it in the chat box, but the name of this is called Early Career Preparation. So getting the most out of graduate school. So if you look at the bottom there, those are for graduate students, people that came from K-State. And they're going to cover these things in this session. So if you're available, it's going to be online. So if you're available, it's probably worth going. And Chris, do you know if they're going to record that?
I am not sure. I'm looking.
They usually do. There was another one that happened, I think, last month. But they're going to go over things like their career paths, how they landed the job, and they'll be walking you through that, the resources that was most helpful to them, the skills that they developed, and then activities that helped them the most, like participation in organizations and things like that. So that's a good event that you guys might find helpful. So
yeah, I posted the link. I posted two links. So the last one is actually with the list of events, and if you scroll down, you will find the link to register for that specific session.
Okay, so lots of resources, and that's a great event. I plan on attending it as well. So I also wanted to mention another resource, the K-State Career Center. So here are all the really good things that K-State provides to you to get ready for your career after graduation. So they facilitate a career readiness for students. They provide you with job search assistance. They'll help you with your resume and your CV if you need another eye to look at it, people that are able to kind of help you make that really tight. They will help you with your interviewing skills because, that's a little scary. I mean, these days, a lot of them are on Zoom, and, once you make it through the hurdle, you got a great resume and they actually want to interview, you want to make sure that that goes well. So they help you with that as well. And then college to career stats. I'm going to show you a page where we would have a lot of questions about, okay, so once I graduate, let's say, for instance, I have a degree in statistics, how much should I be making? I have no idea. So I'm going to show you a place where you can look at that. That's on the Career Center site. And then lastly, these services are available up to 1 year after graduation. So even after you graduate, you can come back, and coming back just means probably some online resources or whatever, but you're able to use all of these services of the Career Center. So you got a whole year to, get that extra help for free, because some of these services, if you were to try to get them somewhere else, you'd be paying for them. So the Career Center is a great place to utilize to help you with that transition. And then I think everyone to be familiar with Handshake. I get emails all the time through Handshake, but it's basically a recruiting and career services where it's a shared platform. So you've got students on there, you've got alumni, and then you've got employers. So I'll get emails that say, hey, this company is got this job posted and we think you're a good fit. So there's all kinds of little things like that. And so let me read a comment in the chat that's really helpful. I strongly recommend K-State Career Center. They prepped me for my internship interview. Yay, thank you for sharing that. So what I'm gonna do real quick, I just wanna show you that career page. So let me get to that page and then I will, yeah. Okay, so let me share my new screen and show you what the page looks like. Okay, so here's the page, and the first thing they're showing you is the Handshake, but it's just kstate.edu/career center. And if you scroll down, on the left side toolbar, you can see all the different options that you have. And, they have partnerships with different companies and things like that. They talk about, upcoming events. So this is the page that's extremely helpful. And then I want to also, we talked about, post-graduation statistics. So I just wanted to show you this tool. It's right off of the career page as well, the Career Center. But if you go here and you can choose to look at data based on salary. So you have these fields that you can select and say, okay, I'm going to be getting my master's in teaching, so I'm going to choose that. But you can choose, any major that you want. And then we're looking at the most current year, which is 2020 to 2021. And then a master's degree, you can choose the degree. If you want to, you can choose PhD or a different degree, even like an undergrad. So I'm not sure why it's not showing up. My computer's probably slow, but I already ran this because I didn't want to have to wait on it. So as you can see, for this major with this degree, these are actual K-State students that have graduated and they have reported back their salary. So as you can see, there's 49. So this is a pretty decent representation. On the very low end, it was 25,000. On the high end, it was 80,000. And then over here to the right, it shows you how these salaries are distributed. So you can clearly see that most fell within, let's see, this one's 40,000, and then 45, and then 50. So most fell within this range. So as you obviously choose different degrees or different majors, it's going to be different for each, but this is a great place to go and get a sense of, okay, if recent K-State grads got this, then this is sort of the range I should be looking at. Because, once you get done with school, you're thinking a lot about, okay, now how do I start adulting? You're going to have bills, you're going to have to kind of, have some idea of where you can live and what you can afford and things like that. So I just wanted to show that to you guys. We'll go back to the presentation. Here we go. So yeah, next we are going to look at some other career building resources. So this is outside of K-State. Everything that I showed you thus far, that's what K-State offers. And frankly, if you end up going to another school, let's say if you're in a master's program, you end up going somewhere else for a PhD, most universities are going to have those types of resources or something similar. So other places going to be LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I would consider sort of the professional version of social media. So when I want to do a professional connection, usually it's going to be on LinkedIn. Like if I attend a conference or something like that, whoever the presenters were, or maybe there was someone that was like, oh, gee, I would really like to get to know her. I will I might send them a message and ask to connect with them. And usually I'll say something like, wow, you did a great presentation. I just wanted to connect with you. I'm a K-State student or whatever. But LinkedIn is a great place to do that. That's where most professionals are going to be hanging out in terms of like a social media platform. Then professional organizations, events, and gatherings. So this is really important because this goes beyond your daily school and academic, endeavors, okay? So every single field has a major professional organization, or they'll have events or gatherings. And if you happen to be an introvert and you don't like events or gatherings, a lot of events now are on Zoom where you don't have to necessarily, be doing as much socializing as you would in person, but you can still be, active, you can be in the chats, you can still be involved, and those organizations will start to recognize you, and they will, it just gives you a sense of, these are the people in my field, and the people that you meet in that organization could be the person to help you get your next job. So next is your school contacts, like your instructors or your classmates. Especially being master's and PhD students, a lot of your classmates may already be doing something in that field, or they're a career changer or something like that. So that could be a resource for you. And instructors, they actually love to help students. So keep them in mind, like feel free to kind of share like what your endeavors are, to be involved, and they could very well help you out as well. Then leadership, like committees, boards, officers. So I'm mentioning this because a lot of organizations, they always need like volunteers to be on this committee, or even serving as an officer. Like being master's and PhD students, you carry a lot more weight than, let's say, an undergrad. So like right now, I sit on the board, my major is financial planning and financial therapy. So I just joined the board of my chapter of the Financial Planning Association. And I didn't even know that I could be on the board. Like I thought I had to have, like there's a CFP designation that's really important in the field. I didn't have that, but the person that invited me to consider the position was like, well, you don't have to have a CFP except, in this particular role or whatever. But so now I'm on the board of the Financial Planning Association. So everybody there has been in business, in financial planning for a very long time. So it's nice to be around those people. So if I'm ever in a position where I'm looking for a job or anything like that, I would probably share it with those people, and somebody's going to know somebody. So I think taking it a step above being just a member, being an active member, serving on a committee or some other type of leadership role can go a long way. And then don't underestimate maybe organizations at Kansas State that you might serve as in a leadership role as well, because that obviously looks good on your resume. And it just gives you a little bit more experience with, being in spaces where you are leading and I guess serving as a role model. And then lastly is just your personal contacts. Like you got me, but you have your friends, your family, colleagues, things like that. So keep those in mind. The big thing that I found is that people don't know that you're looking for a job. So if you happen to be ready for a career change, you don't have to blast it or anything, but you can just kind of let your close-knit people know that, you've kind of got your eyes open, and if they see anything, this is your field, this is what you do. That way they know that, that they're aware of your interest, and that sort of gives them the green light where if they do know someone, they can say, hey, you said the other day that you were looking for a job in this field. I know so-and-so, why don't I connect you guys? I've had a lot of people to do that out of the goodness of their heart, being so generous. And I've done that for other people. So that could be very helpful as well. So now let's say you had a great interview, you used all these resources and you got the job, okay? So inevitably, you're going to be asked, what are your salary requirements? So everybody hates that job, or hates, that them asking that. Now, some states won't even let you ask your salary history, but they can ask your salary requirements. And the real answer is just fair market value for the position and location. Now that sounds like a lot, right? But you probably want to know, how do I find this information? And there are so many different places to get a sense of what fair market value is for that position, for that location. So I'm going to show you plenty where you're, and if anyone else has any other like resources that they use to kind of see what they should be getting paid, feel free to drop it in the chat. But I tried to get some of the biggest ones here. So obviously we talked about K-State, and I showed you the reported salaries by major. So that's a good one. Now this is one, I think I knew this, but I never really looked. But anytime it's a state or federal government agency, more than likely those salaries are published on their website. So I was telling Chris that I went the other day to, I'm in Ohio, so I went to the Ohio State University website, and they had salaries from everybody from the head football coach to the janitor. So that is an area where you can get a very clear picture of what the salary expectations should be if you work for a government agency. The next one is Glassdoor, private company that basically is a website that has salary information and a lot of career information as well on them. All of these actually will give you some career information. Pay scale, kind of the same thing. Salary.com, there's a lot of good education on salary.com. I was digging around their website. And then finally, just asking others in their field. I've seen, I'm in a lot of different groups, on social media, and some are professional groups, and they'll ask, I just am applying for this job, or I just had this job offer. What should I be getting paid? And it's amazed at how many people will reply, and they'll say, yeah, I'm in New York and I have 3 years of experience and I'm making blah, blah, blah in this type of place. So I feel like people are becoming more and more open to sharing what they make. And that's a good thing, because that will, I almost wish everything was, had the same transparency at some of these state and local government agencies, because, you could have someone, making on the very low end that has a lot of experience, when you got somebody that's making on the high end and they have less experience. That's really not fair, right? And it'll be hard to get it all, completely fair, but these resources will give you some idea of where you should be, so you're not going at it blindly. 10 years ago, that might not have been the case. Okay, so we got a note in the chat. If you are in chemistry, the American Society of Chemistry has this facility for members. So that is great. Let's see, okay, awesome. So almost every field has resources for recent graduates. So look out for those. For me, it's the Financial Planning Association, or we have something called the CFP board, which stands for Certified Financial Planner. That's like the gold standard certification if you're in the financial planning industry. So both of those, I can go there and they've got a ton of resources. So every field I'm thinking would be very similar to that. Okay, let's size up the job offer. So you know what you should be making, you got the job, or you've been offered the job, and now you get the full-fledged formal job offer. Okay, so these are the areas that is going to be in there more than likely, or these are things you should consider. So your salary, obviously, but also bonuses. Depending on your field, there could be some type of bonuses, whether like it's a signing bonus or annual bonuses, things like that. The benefits package, which we're going to go into a little bit more, because those benefits could add up to a lot. So it's not just the salary. The location and cost of living. I know that there've been people that, even though they go to K-State, their family might be in like South Carolina, and it might be more attractive to them to move to South Carolina. The cost of living is a little bit lower, they're near family, so that could play into it. Work from home options or in person. Right now, since COVID, that is a huge debate. A lot of companies are saying, no, you got to come back in the office. And employees are saying, no, I don't want to come back in the office. This has been working fine for 2 years. So you could look at advancement opportunities that would come up in the interview. A lot of times at the end, you'll get asked the question, do you have any questions for us? Maybe you would have some dialogue around that. Then you've got company culture and the environment. Pretty much from the internet and social media, you can get a sense of the corporate environment. And this is where LinkedIn could be helpful. If you are able to find people that work at that company, most of them would be fine to, if you ask them, hey, can you tell me a little bit about the company culture and things like that? Or again, you know, you can find a lot on companies anymore. You can go to their website. Their website is usually more for PR than anything. So they've crafted that themselves, and it may be helpful, but also, especially during the interview, you definitely want to look at the company's website. But the environment and the culture is just something that you want to try to get a sense of yourself. And then this last one, I would say it's kind of newer. When I say newer, maybe less than 10 years old, but employee resource groups. So those are where companies will have organizations within the company that serve certain demographics. So it may be women, it may be, you know, African Americans, it may be Latinas, it may be, you know, there's some pride groups. So, and some of them, you know, at my company that I was at, there was an Indian organization because we had a pretty decent population. So the whole idea is really a retention play and to help employees grow and feel like there is space for them everywhere in the company. So those employee resource groups, I could tell you, mine helped me a lot. I was part of the women's and the African-American group at my company, and they were very helpful. It just, it gave me another space to really get to know the company. Because normally when you're working for a company, you're in your own little, you know, bubble, right? In your own little department. So it was a way to get to know other people and, you know, support the community and things like that. So let's look at the most common employee benefits. So this is going to be a big part, you guys, when you start to size up that job offer. So some of the most common here, your retirement. Now I listed all of these as far as retirement because it's really going to depend on the type of employer that you have, but these are all pretty much the same. 401k is usually private companies. 403b is going to be a state agency. TSP stands for Thrift Savings Plan. That's with the federal government, the DOD, and the military. And usually there's an employer match. Now, you don't see pension as a retirement option very much anymore, but some companies still have it, especially government agencies. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. So those are one of the big ones. Health insurance is the other pretty big one. You guys can stay on your parents' health insurance until 26. That's a nice benefit if it's available to you. But a lot of people, the health insurance is a big, big deal. Then you've got flexible or remote work options. That's been becoming more and more important. I don't know if I would have put that on here 5 years ago, but being able to work from home and having flexible work options is a nice employee benefit. Then your paid time off. So whether it's your vacations, holidays, sick days, and things like that, because you want work-life balance. We all do. So having that time off becomes very important. Then dental and vision insurance, not quite as critical as health insurance, but that's something people look for as well. And especially if you have kids, because so much is covered for children on dental insurance plans. Then you've got tuition reimbursement. So if you, let's say if you're in a master's program or whatever, you may like the idea of going back to school and knowing that your employer may reimburse some of that. It usually is up to $5,250. Why $5,250? Because that is the amount that the IRS allows. So it's up to in terms of a tax break. So that's what most companies will give you. Student loan assistance. Will they help you pay back your student loans? This is particularly important when you are working for a nonprofit or government agency. They could get PSLF, and that's the Public Student Loan Forgiveness Program, where a lot of your student loans could be forgiven after you do 10 years of on-time payments, or I think 120 months. So that could be a deciding factor for people. A lot of people would end up working in a nonprofit or at a government agency because it qualifies for this loan forgiveness. Then stock options or equity compensation. Equity compensation is just a big fancy word for part ownership in the company. So this happens a lot with startups. It could be like with publicly traded companies where you can own stock in the company, things like that. And then lastly is FSA and HSA. So FSA stands for Flexible Spending Account. That's available with like a regular health insurance. Tax-free account helps you with your medical things. This is something you may not need if you're perfectly healthy and you don't need it. It is owned by the company and that goes away each year. Now, the HSA is very different. It's a health savings account. So I guess what's the same is that they're a pre-tax account for healthcare. With health savings accounts, you can roll it over from year to year. You can either use it as you incur expenses, but if you're healthy and you don't have expenses, you can actually keep the money in there, roll it over year to year, and you can even invest it if you want to. So that becomes a nice little savings vehicle, and that's a characteristic that you don't find in an FSA. So here are just a few more, just so you know, some of these benefits packages can be massive. So I just put a few more that come up quite a bit, family paid leave, life insurance, disability, there's professional development things. And some of these companies will craft their own little benefits, wellness services, the on-site gym or childcare, that's actually pretty cool for a lot of people. Donation matching, my company used to do that up to $500. So that's kind of neat. And because we all have organizations that we want to support. And so to know that our money will be doubled up to $500, that's pretty good. And being recent graduates, this is something that could be helpful. Relocation assistance. So as you know, by the time you get gas, a moving truck, moving services, you pay money to get, your utilities turned on, that could add up. So if you, part of the benefits package can be your company will give you money or reimburse you for the cost of relocating. And one of the, an example here is a company called VMware. They actually have all of their benefits on their website. Don't have to sign in or anything, but if you were applying for a job or you got a job and you want to know their benefits, everything is right there on the website, freely available. So I've got a second poll for you guys, all right? We're going to talk about this. What employee benefit is the most important to you? So we went over a lot of benefits. We looked at the most common ones, then we looked at a whole bunch more. So tell me what you think the most important to you is. So a few, the top 5 that I selected for this group is the student loan assistance, flexible or remote work options, paid time off, health insurance, or retirement. So select which one of these would be most important to you, because I'm always curious about these. So student loan forgiveness, flexible work options, paid time off, health insurance, or retirement. So we'll give you guys just a second to select which one you think the most important is, and then Chris is going to show our results. I'm trying to think which one I would pick.
It's a tough choice.
I like the time off. Well, you know what? The flexible and remote work options, that's pretty big.
Okay, I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds to see.
And I guess that would depend on the field that you're in too. There's certain industries where it doesn't make sense to work remote.
Okay, so I'm going to end.
Okay. Results. All right. Wow. Most people said health insurance. Very cool. Okay. And then so 38% said health insurance and 23% said retirement, and then flexible and remote work options. And then 15% said paid time off. So very good. Thank you guys. That's just interesting to see. I wish companies would pay attention to things like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple of just quick tips about benefits. I think I mentioned this before, but you can stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26, if that's available to you. Not everyone has that option, but you are allowed to legally. Some companies allow domestic partners to be covered on your health insurance. So you don't necessarily have to be married anymore, but that's a company specific guideline. So they come up with their own rules around that, but it could be available. Some plans require you to stay with your company for a certain number of years to keep the retirement match. So that's called vesting. So some of them will say, okay, you need to be here for 3 years or else you forfeit the company match. Now, you always get your own money that you put in, but if they do a match and the company put in their money, it's like a retention play. They want you to stay a certain period of time. Not all companies do this, but the company I was with did, and I've seen plenty of companies that will have some kind of vesting schedule. And then certain departments or teams within a company will have additional benefits. So if you're sitting down and doing an interview, that might be a good question to ask, to say, does this department have any additional benefits that's not, company-wide? And they can share that with you. So we got a couple things in the chat here. Let's see, I brought up my chat. Okay, what is meant by paid time off? The paid time off is going to include things like vacation time, like maybe you get 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks a year. It's going to be holidays. Usually there's like 10 major holidays that most companies will give off, and then sick time. So it means you're still getting paid for taking off on those days, and that's why it's called paid time. It used to be like sick time was in a bucket, and then vacation time was in a bucket. But now a lot of times they just put it all in one bucket and they call it PTO, or paid time off. So that's what that is. And then and somebody put that in, the days off of work is still, there you go. Okay, so somebody already got me covered. Okay, let's move on here. Negotiating. Doesn't everybody hate negotiating? But I just want to give you a few tips around negotiating. I guess the thing about negotiating for me is that it just seems it shouldn't be an adversarial thing, right? It should be where you're creating a win-win, because the company wants you, an amazing person that's well-educated, and then you want the job because you want a company that is going to utilize your skills or appreciate your skills. So you marry the two. You both should be winning. So a couple of tips I have is make sure you do your research. So this is where you do want to go to your company's website, and you want to look at that prospective employer and get a sense of how they're structured, what they do, and things like that. Any new exciting things that they're launching or doing, because that is good conversation during an interview. And I said, creating the win-win, that's, should be your big overarching thing. And of course, you want to look at what unique contributions can you offer them. So if you're trying to negotiate and you're saying you should have a higher salary, well, why? Like, what unique contributions are you going to bring? More than likely, you're not the only candidate they're interviewing. So they want to know, why should Chris get this job over everyone else? And they may very well ask you that question. And then the last thing is, like, what is your compelling value overall? So things like education, skill, and these are not just, what every college kid does. What did you do that might be above and beyond? Talk about certain education projects that you might have done, maybe research that you might have done, maybe skills that, you got, at school, or some kind of organization you were a part of. Other experience, and experience does not have to be paid. It could be volunteer experience. It could be a special project you worked on. And then I put shareholder. This is my unique little thing. But remember, we had the investing session. So many of you were investing in companies. So if you happen to be interviewing, like, everybody has their dream company they work for. Maybe it's Google, maybe it's Apple, and you get the interview. How awesome would it be to talk about the fact that you own shares in their company and you are a shareholder? I can guarantee you no other candidates would probably have that type of discussion or talk about the fact that they're a shareholder. So that's another nice little thing. And as we know, it's so easy to start investing these days. You can do it with a simple app. You don't have to buy an entire share. You can buy, $100 worth of Apple if you want to. So, so that's another, to me, cool little topic of conversation. And then here, I just wanted to list a few things that you can usually negotiate, because not everything is, some people say everything is negotiable, but companies also have to be considerate of sort of non-discrimination guidelines. Like, for instance, if they offer 2 weeks for every new employee, and someone comes on and say, no, I want 3 weeks, they may have, you got to be careful about that, because they need to be fair and equitable. Like, as you get up the ladder, the packages become more unique. So just keep that in mind. But typically, salaries and bonuses are possibly negotiable. The time off, in terms of, let's say if you had some plans coming up and you needed an extra day. Maybe your department is able to somehow, work on that. And then different types of benefits. We saw a ton of benefits. So all of this is just really to say there's a lot of room for negotiation and a lot of possible flexibility, but you also want to be reasonable. You don't want to eliminate an opportunity because you were asking for things that were way out of the scope of what would be reasonable in a situation, because you have so many resources to see what reasonable is. If you're going for a teacher position and you saw that the high end was 80,000, let's say you get offered, 60,000, you come back and say, no, I want 100,000. Well, that's kind of beyond what, unless you see that somewhere else and that's what the market is bringing, it might sound, a little crazy, especially when you can go on the website and you can see what everybody's making. So if everybody else is making $60,000 and you're making 100,000, there's a big disparity there that, the employer is going to have to answer for at some point. So let's see, we got something in the chat here. Got it. Thanks. Okay, she's good. I can never see I can't preview the comments. I always have to open it up. Okay. Let's go to some goals after graduation. So we're in the 9th inning here, and I just wanted to end with something called SMART goals, because after you do your research, you interview, you get the job, you got the salary, you're all set up, you got great benefits. How do you manage all of that money when you're used to being, when I was in college, I always thought of myself as just a poor college kid. Now I'm going to be making all this money. So I'm in a really good position right now. So how do I manage this money? Because for a lot of people, this is the first time they're making this kind of money. So before I launch into that, Kelly has her hand up. Kelly, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Yeah, I do have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sure. So I was going to ask, how do you get this whole conversation about negotiating, getting part of your salary as stocks instead of money? How best do you introduce that? Let's say you're working with, let's say you're working with a company that's publicly traded and you want some benefits as stocks and stuff like that.
Okay, typically so she's asking how do you get equity compensation or ownership in the company versus salary or whatever, or how do you ask for that? So typically that's already set up within the policies of the company. Normally you're at a certain level where they will offer you what's called stock options, and they will, tell you whether or not that position is considered eligible for those stock options or any other type of equity compensation. There's a lot of different terms. You've got something called RSUs, restricted stock units. You've got ISOs, incentive stock options, things like that. However, the one that almost every employee would qualify for, if it's a publicly traded company, they may offer their discount, offer their stock at a discount. For instance, when I worked at Walmart way back in the day, all of their employees had the ability to buy Walmart stock at a 15% discount. So that was for everybody. But the other ones, like stock options and the incentives and things like that, typically will go to higher level employees or staffs at the company. So that's how that works. Usually they have it set up, but if they are a publicly traded company that offers a discount, usually that will be extended to all employees. So yeah, so congrats, you got the job. Now let's do some goal planning. So many of you have probably heard of SMART goals. So I don't want to just do goals where we're putting out something very general. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So you're putting some constraints on these goals to make sure or make it more likely that you are to actually achieve them. So, the SMART is, what do you want to do? The measurable is, how will you know when you've reached it? Achievable is, is it in your power to even accomplish it? Do you have control over that? Can you realistically achieve it? And then to me, one of the most important is the time. Like we have our short-term, long-term, midterm goals. So it's important to identify, what is the time frame? So before I go to the next one, there's a couple of—
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, you want to go ahead and ask me the question, Chris? Can you do that?
Sure, I can read the question. So the question is, how we negotiate on base salary. So Glassdoor, for example, gives an average salary for that specific job in that specific region. But that estimation is based on average of several people with wide range of experience and different educational level. So my question is, given X as average salary on Glassdoor, what shall we ask for? Again, X or a little less than X or like 1.1X? Is there like a rule?
I don't think there's no complete rule, but here's a few guidelines. So whatever the first offer is, you would want to go higher than that. And you want to go higher than what you are willing to take. For instance, if you know in your head you're willing to take 80,000, you don't counter with 80,000. You would counter with 85,000 or 90,000 because they may counter offer. And then be prepared to talk about, you want to be prepared to talk about what compelling value do you have? What things are you bringing to the table to justify? Because what you want to do, you want to make it easy for them to say, yes, I can do that. Or I can't do the 90,000 that you asked me for. I can only go up to 85. Will that work if you sign the agreement today? So, or something like that. So it's no rule of thumb, mainly because it depends on the location. It depends on the job market. And I can say right now, like at the very beginning, the job market is very strong. So whatever the rule of thumb is, I would say right now, I would definitely be going on the high end because the job market is really, really strong. A lot of companies are losing employees because those employees are leaving. They're going to another job where they're getting more money. Most companies now, they know that they have to increase the starting salary to get good people and to keep good people. So I would definitely be thinking on the high end. You want it to be reasonable, but right now things are so strong with the job market and it is an employee's market. So those are just sort of a few parameters because it's hard to put some kind of multiplier on it because, you know, a lot of times companies, they're just so different. And then you can't even just look at the salary. You got to look at the benefits package. For instance, the retirement is a really good example because if you're at a company where they match your retirement 5% and the other company doesn't match at all, well, that could equal $5,000, $10,000 depending on what you're making. So you got to add that in there too. So start adding those things up as well. So yeah, those are just a few pointers on to decide, you know, how much more should you go for. Experience tends to come in a lot. You know, if you have more experience, that's going to put you in a stronger position. Your education may also, a lot of companies, they pay more when you have a master's degree or an MBA, or if you've got an advanced degree. That's a compelling value that all of you could use because not all employees are going to have that. And I know a lot of people go back to grad school because they will get a raise once they have their graduate degree. So that's something to keep in mind. So I hope that was helpful. I wish there was like a formula, but there's really not. It's a very subjective thing. So, okay, you are welcome. So now PowerCat Financial on their website, we have something called a spending plan, and the link is down there at the bottom, but it's just on the PowerCat Financial website under budgeting. So most of you probably do some type of budgeting. You're looking at your income, you know, what's your salary, what's your side gig, you know, what do you have coming in? And then you've got your expenses, you know, what's your rent, what's going out and things like that. So the main purpose of the spending plan is to first estimate your income expenses, because before you really have the numbers, it's really hard, but you can estimate, and that's what the spending plan does. And then you want to bump that up against your actual income and expenses. So maybe after 3 or 4 months, you have a sense of what it's really costing you. You know how much it's costing you in grocery, you know how much it's costing you in gas and things like that. So you want to figure out the difference there and obviously make sure it's under what you're making and make adjustments if needed. So those are just some basics of that, but that worksheet is there. There's a lot of other places that you can do, you know, spending plan, a budget, or whatever you want to call it. Now at PowerCat Financial, one of the things we do is when we talk to you about your finances and where you're at, there's these 5 main things that we look at. the big one at the end is like your net worth. And I'm going to go into all of these, but these are the other, I guess, sort of areas that will help check the pulse of your finances overall. So your credit score, the target for that is 720 or greater. We had a whole session on credit. So if you missed that one, it was recorded. It's going to be on the Grad Student Council webpage. And then we've got saving and investing rate. So that target is 20%. Now, as you're just starting out, that might not be possible, but the 20% is a target. And the earlier you start, the more that money's going to grow. We had a session on investing as well. And then we've got something called a debt to income ratio. I'll explain what that is, but the target for that is to be under 36%. And that pretty much means how much of your income is going to pay off debt. And then you've got your emergency fund. This is really important. You're like coming out of college. You want to make sure you're okay if something crazy happens, if you lose your job or you temporarily are, without your income. That emergency fund will get you through. If your car breaks down, if something medically happens to you and you're having to, pay more than what you anticipated. So that's that reserve account. The target for that is 3 to 6 months. So I'm going to rip through all of these. And if you guys have questions, but this is again, kind of your health check as far as your finances. So the credit score, as I said, the target is 720. The credit score ranges from 500 to 850. And if someone wants a place to get your credit score, there's so many places to get it for free. Some credit cards will provide it to you. You can go to places like Credit Karma has a great app, annualcreditreport.com. That's the official government website where you can go to, and they will allow you to pull your full credit report from all 3 bureaus. It's normally once a year, but I think it's about to expire, but like April 17th or something like that, you could pull it every week. But your credit score is a number you definitely want to pay attention to. So here's how the credit score is calculated. The 2 biggest pieces is your payment history. Are you paying all of your bills on time, at least the minimum payment? That's all they look at, the minimum payment. If you can't pay it all off one month, that's fine, but you at least have to make the minimum payment on time every single month. And then the next one is the amount of available credit that you're using. So for instance, if you have $1,000 credit limit and you're using 500, that's a 50% utilization rate. And generally they want to say they want that number 30% or less. They want you using less than 30%. Now, again, starting out, if you've got $1,000 limit, you can get to that $1,000 really quick. You're allowed to make payments throughout the month. That could help you because all they look at as far as reporting it on your credit report is what your credit card closed at. What was the closing balance? So these are the 2 things you really want to watch and the 2 biggest factors of your credit score. The other ones don't count for near as much, but those are your length of credit history. Again, you don't have too much control over that. And then you have the new credit. So if you're applying for a credit card, if you're applying for a mortgage or car loan, things like that, teeny tiny, but it does factor in. And then the types of credit, for instance, revolving credit, like a credit card, or having, a car loan or having a student loan or having a mortgage. They like to look at, the types of credit and have a good mix. But again, the target for your credit score is 720 or more. And again, if you don't have it, you want to work towards it. So if you're just coming out of school, some of these things are going to be tough to get, but I just want you to get a sense of, as you're setting your SMART goals, this is where you want to be. So next is our emergency fund. So this is pretty much all you need to know about an emergency fund. Your target is 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, not your income, because you're not spending your entire income. So you at least want 3 to 6 months, again, in case you lose a job, if something happens to your car, there's just some unexpected event that's going to cost you more money than your normal budget. So emergency fund is basically, again, just that sum of money for urgent or unplanned events. As they have here, you've got the 3 to 6 months. And then Where do you want to keep it? That's a big one. Now, high interest savings account, there's really no high interest savings account right now. They're all paying nothing. However, the whole idea is you want to keep that money safe. So this is not money that you want to put in the stock market or invest, because you need it to be liquid and accessible. Because if something happens and you need the money and the stock market's down, it could be a really bad time to pull your money out of the stock market, or the money that you put in, 3 months ago is now, if you put in $1,000 and now it's only $400, that's not, so you don't want to play with your emergency fund money that way. So I just wanted to do an example here. So an example of your emergency fund, if your monthly expenses is $2,000, that's your mortgage, your car payment, food, gas, Netflix subscriptions, whatever, it comes to $2,000. You multiply that times 3 months. So that would make your emergency fund should be around $6,000. Now it's going to take you over the course of some months to accumulate this. So, if you don't have an emergency fund now, that's perfectly fine, but that's what you want to work towards, get to that 3 months at least. And again, having, your master's degree or your PhD, you're going to be making a decent salary where, getting to this emergency fund, may only take you a few months or, maybe a year or so, but you definitely want to get that funded. Now, how about your savings and your investing rate? Some people just call this the savings rate. I include investing because this includes money that you put into your retirement accounts, money that you put into a brokerage account, money that you might be saving towards, a home or something like that. So I say savings and investing. Your target there is 20%. And to come up with this number, all you do is take the amount that you're saving and you divide it by your income, and that's your savings rate. So as you make more, you will be able to save more. So right now, if you're only saving 1%, that's fine. But this is the target to try to get it up there. So your salary will be increasing. Right now you're a poor college student, just like I am, and you don't have a ton of money. But when you get out in the working world with your degrees, you're going to be making a decent amount of money where you can easily get to that target, or at least work towards it. Now, here's an example. So if you have 12,000, this is an annual number, by the way. If you save $12,000 a year, which is about $1,000 a month, you divide that by your $60,000 income, that is a 20% savings rate. So that's how you calculate and get to that. And again, if you're not there yet, that's totally fine. But as you make more, you'll be able to save more. So now our debt to income ratio. So this will be an important number. And, as we just start out, it seems like we've got more debt than anything else. That target is you want to keep the amount of debt you owe in relation to your income to 36%. So there's your debt, your income, you divide your debt by your income. And here's an example. So let's say you have $2,000 worth of debt payment. So your car payment, your mortgage payment, what other debts? It could be credit card payment, student loan payment, things like that. So you're going to divide that by, let's say, a gross income of $5,000. That will give you a 40% debt to income ratio. And a lot of times people just use the acronym, just DTI. So that's an example of how the debt to income ratio works. And the goal, again, is to try to target that under 36%. Now, here's one of the big debts that we all will, not all of us, because, when I looked at that poll that we did as far as benefits, student loan wasn't a big one. So maybe there's not a lot of people with student loans here, but if you do have a student loan or you end up having to get one before you graduate, I just really want you to know that there's a whole lot of options. And to a lot of people, this student loan repayment is one of their biggest bills. For some people, it's even more than their rent payment. So these are all the different options, and you do have choices. Now, there's been this grand student loan pause where any direct federal student loans, the interest rate was 0% and no payments through May 1st. Now we know that May 1st is what, 3 weeks away? 3 weeks away. So this also happened today, just announced today. They extended, once again, we are already working on 2 years of student loan pause on repayments. And now they're adding it on even more through August. So we're getting towards 3 years of 0%. Because as if you're a master's student or a PhD student, you don't get a subsidized loan, meaning that the government does not subsidize your interest payments. So your interest on loans is accruing while you're in school. But if it's 0%, then obviously nothing is accruing. For undergrads, many of them are eligible to get what's called subsidized student loans, where the government will take care of the interest payments for them while they're in school, so they don't have to worry about it accumulating. So that's the difference in those. But just announced the 0% and the no payments for student loan pause is extended through August. So good news for anyone that has student loans or that might end up getting a student loan. So net worth. So this is that final number, that really big number that takes, the big picture of what you got going on financially as far as, the things that you own and the big things that you owe. So again, assets is what you own, liabilities is what you owe. So assets are going to be things like, checking account, savings account, your retirement account, the value of your home, the value of your car, anything else that you actually own that is yours. And liabilities is what you owe. So if you owe student loans, that's debt, and that's what you owe. That's a liability. Home, car, credit cards, any other like debts or loans that you owe, that's a liability. And so you take your assets and you subtract your liabilities, and that is your net worth. Starting out, you'll probably be in the red if you've got student loans, and that's okay. But over time, this student loan number will go up. So as you pay off the debt, that's going to increase your net worth. As you start to save more, that's going to increase your net worth. So here's an example for that. Let's say you have $80,000 worth of assets. Let's say you have a car, you've got some equity in your home, you've got money in your retirement account, and that all adds up to $80,000. And you have $15,000 worth of things that you owe, your liabilities. So you subtract the $80,000 worth of assets or you take the $80,000 worth of assets, you subtract the $15,000 worth of liabilities, and that gives you a net worth of $65,000. So that's how you do that. Now, I hated that I waited so long to do my net worth, but this was a pretty powerful exercise because it gave me a chance to pull everything together. And I was doing better than I thought I was because, I had a little retirement account over here. I had a little IRA over here. I still had a home mortgage. It just wasn't together. So this is a nice way to pull together your finances and start to look at, okay, what is my net worth? And again, that should go up over time. So we've got our third poll. How much is your current savings or investment rate? Like we talked about, how much the target was 20, but again, you guys are in school, you guys are just starting out. So your savings rate is probably not 20% yet. So we would like to know, what is your current savings and investing rate? So it's money that you're putting in a savings account. It's money that you are putting in an investment account. It's money that you might be putting in a brokerage account or putting in a retirement account. Anything that you're saving or anything that you're investing, that's part of your savings rate. And then you just do that calculation as a percentage of how much you're bringing in. So let's see what we have in the chat. Is this rate monthly? Generally, it's going to be annually. I usually will express this in an annual number. Arguably, if you just divided it by 12, you could do it monthly as well. But I usually look at it annually because not everything goes in evenly every month. Like some people might make deposits quarterly, or maybe if they got a refund from their tax return and it's $2,500 and they decide to invest that. So there's a lot of reasons why it might not be on a regular schedule. So I like to do it annually. So we got 0 to 5%, 6 to 10%, 11 to 20%, 21 to 30% or 30% or more, which means you are an absolute superstar if you're doing that. So you guys take just a minute and choose what is your current savings rate. Again, to get to the savings rate, we take the amount that you're saving and divide it by your income. I think that was the math.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't even remember it myself. But Chris is going to show the poll in the results in just a minute. But I'm curious to see if anyone's able to save anything.
You'll be surprised. I mean, I don't.
Oh my God.
I don't know who answers what. So I just have the actual like numbers.
Wow. Okay. So we got some superstars in the room. Okay. 30%. Oh my God. Okay. So you're already way, way ahead of the curve if you've got a 30% savings rate. So bravo to you.
Yeah. Any savings as a graduate student, I feel like it's impressive.
It's very impressive because, you know, going to school will break you for a lot of people. So that is great. And you have so much time, especially for the portion that's in an investment account, retirement account, or anything that's in the market. You've got so much time for it to grow. Like, that's amazing. So 36% is saving 30% or more, complete rock star. And then also 36% is saving between 6 and 10%, which is still great. And then we've got 9% that's saving between 11 and 20%. And then we've got 18% that's saving between 0 and 5%. So this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting most people to be at about less than 10%, to be honest, and a lot of people to be at 0 to 5. So this is impressive. Very good. And Chris came up with that question. That's a great question. This is the one that kind of threw me for a loop. So that's awesome. You're already on the right track. So good job, everyone. Okay. That was a great one. And these last few slides are just giving you guys a few more resources and tips that can help you once we're done tonight with some other resources. This Grad Sense, it's great. I mean, it has a lot of good budgeting features, so you can go there. The QR code is live, so if you have your smartphone, you can just open up your camera and just scan it and it'll take you there. But it's got a lot of stuff about evaluating a job offer, negotiating a job offer, a lot of the things that we talked about, and it just kind of will give you another perspective. And then, you know, transitioning out of grad school. And then it also has a cool explore down at the bottom, explore salaries by occupation. So they have yet another resource to look at your occupation, your field, and what you can expect to make. So this was a really good resource. You might want to bookmark that one. And then there's some really cool personal finance apps. So these apps will do a number of different things to help you, you know, track your net worth, you know, budgeting, cash flow, expenses, and help you with your goals. So these are the 4 most common ones that I've seen, and they're easy little apps. They all have a free version. I don't think I've ever paid to have a personal finance app. I've always been fine with the free version. So here are those. Personal Capital has a really good one. Then you've got Mint, Every Dollar, and then YNAB, You Need a Budget. So these are the most popular. Like, you can barely see like how many ratings they have, but they all have like a ton of ratings where you can review. And like I said, they all have a free version. So you can try each of them out and see which one you like the best. But just from a behavioral standpoint, I find that I check my numbers more if I have it accessible on my phone. Like my credit score, I have Credit Karma. And so if I'm sitting at the doctor's office or I'm sitting somewhere waiting on something, I might pop my phone up and take a look at it. So if you have the app, it might make it a little bit easier for you to sort of keep track. And then these are the other resources. The 2 on the left are 2 podcasts. I'm a big podcast listener. There's probably some good YouTube channels and things like that, but these 2 podcasts really cater to, you know, master's and PhD students. So you've got the Personal Finance for PhDs and then Dear Grad Student. If anyone else has any other really good resources that you think would be helpful, whether it's in your field or just general, just put it in the chat. It might be helpful for someone else, but I just listed again all these different places where you can look at, you know, salary and expectations as far as compensation. The last one down there is NerdWallet. NerdWallet in general writes for a young audience, like 20 somethings, that makes sense. So almost any personal finance topic you're interested in, there's probably a good, easy to read article on NerdWallet. There's a lot of other great content creators. I would encourage you to think about how you learn the best. So it might not be reading a book, but if reading a book is your thing, then you can find great books. If you like YouTube, there's always someone producing really good content on YouTube for the specific things that you're looking for. I love listening to podcasts because I can walk and hike and clean the house and do all kinds of things at the same time while I'm listening. Even things on like, sometimes I'll ask Alexa for things or have her, go through some things or even play a podcast for me. So think about how you learn the best and just find a resource that has the platform that, really speaks to you. So here's an option, or here's a great link from Kelly, NRT. Oh, an investing workshop. Oh, I'm gonna take a look at that. Let's see. I should probably come back to that, but I don't want to mess up my screen. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I just wanted to open that up. So I'm definitely going to go to that. Thank you for sharing that. And again, if anyone has any other good resources that they've liked and that has really been helpful to them, please share it. It might help someone else. Next, I just wanted to briefly remind you guys that PowerCat Financial is available to you for free. We do peer-to-peer counseling, so one-on-one sessions. So if all of this was helpful, but you just need a little more and you want to look at your numbers or whatever financial topics that you need a little extra help with, then we have peer-to-peer counselors. And then of course we do group presentations like this. We do them virtual, we do them in person. We do different events that you have probably seen around campus. And then PowerCat Financial also participates in certain research. So it's there for you, it's free. And the one-on-one sessions, just so you know, those are confidential as well. We will never share them with anyone, outside of you and PowerCat Financial. So here are the topics that we covered. We pretty much did all of this during the grad money series. So we covered credit, budgeting, student loans, investing, transitioning to work, which is what we're doing tonight. So all of these things we cover, and we did it with this series. So thank you, Chris, and the Grad Student Council for allowing us to put together these sessions just for the grad students, because there were quite a few unique things to grad students that I thought it was nice to have just this audience that were grad students. And again, I probably said it before, but all of our services are absolutely free as a student. Even when you leave, we have a public facing website where you can go and get resources. Anybody can. Let's see, we got a note in the chat here. Okay, let's see, I'm going to read this. This is long. Oh, look at this, some really good ones. So Molly. I'm enrolling in. Oh, yay, somebody's enrolling in the financial therapy certificate. It was awesome. Seeking a second career as a financial therapist, because that's awesome. Once I reach FIRE, yay. So if somebody doesn't know what FIRE is, that's Financial Independence Retire Early. That's a big part of my story, where I pretty much retired from a corporate job after 20 years, which was a really long time. And one of my things was to come back to school. I'm a big fan of Simple Path to Wealth. That's a really good one to get you started with investing, all about index funds and making it easy. He actually wrote that book for his daughter. And if you go, he has a website. His website has all the same information that's in the book. And he openly says that. I guess the book kind of just lays it out a little differently. Okay, well, thank you so much. Look at you, Molly. Do you want to come off mic? Say hi.
And your book is amazing too. I just got that, Letters to My Daughter,
Oh,
if I got the title correct.
Yeah, Money Letters to My Daughter. Yeah, that was sort of like a passion project. I have a kid and we learn about the finances, right? But we also want our kids to learn about it. So that's what that was about. So thank you. So all of that is free. Thank you for the JL Collins. I would definitely echo that, especially, you know, when we were doing investing. That I think I might have had that book as a resource when we did the investing. More than likely I did, because to me, the way that it's laid out and it talks, it just makes things seem very simple and get you started on a basic level, because investing does not have to be complex. So now for any sessions that you guys might have missed, you can go to past sessions. The QR code is live. If you want to get there, just get your smartphone and just point it at the camera, or point your camera at the QR code and it'll take you there. But this one probably will be posted in a week or two, Chris. So this one will be posted as well as being recorded.
Yeah, it's been taking about a week.
Okay, in about a week.
Upload the videos, but yes, it will all be posted online, so you can access if you want to go back. And the slides are also going to be posted, so if you don't want to go through the video, you can just download the slides and keep that for your works.
So any other questions? The QR code will take you to our PowerCap Financial website. Again, one of the things I'm most proud of is you know, getting my degree, but also being able to be a part of PowerCap Financial, because it's not very common that a university has a financial wellness center like PowerCap Financial, where they do one-on-one, peer-to-peer counseling, group presentation, and a whole slate of, you know, financial wellness activities and education. So I was really glad that I got to participate in it, and to be able to do these sessions with my fellow grad students was like the icing on the cake. So let's see. Thank you. Well, you guys, I want to thank everyone for having me. The series has been great. Like I said, I'm going to be graduating, so I'll be coming to Manhattan to walk. And anybody that's on campus, I'd love to meet you. But yeah, we've got about a couple more minutes, so I will stay on for any questions or anything. So Molly, it's really good to have a fellow fire person.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting stuff. And somebody asked about that certificate, and I am so sorry I had to join the call late and I missed most of your presentation. No problem. But I'd be curious what you thought about the financial therapy end of the spectrum versus the traditional financial planning end of things. I've really been trying to ideate, you know, do I want to be a financial planner, or do I want to work, you know, in a financial wellness and coaching context? And I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts and experience and where you are now.
Okay, we will. So I will do that. It's like night and day, because I took the financial planning courses, those 6 classes that are required for the CFP, and then I took the 4 classes for the financial therapy. And they were like night and day, because the financial therapy explores the how do you feel, psychological, behavioral side of things. And so I feel like it slows you down to really see and better understand what's going on with your clients, which to me can be more effective in your overall service that you're giving to that client. The financial planning is more of a tactical, technical, here are the rules, here's the IRS guidelines, you know, here are the estate planning rules and things like that. So it was a nice woo-saw when I got to the financial therapy part. And I would be happy to discuss it with you more, like once we are done recording, maybe we can chat, or if you want to set up something aside, I can tell you about the professors. We had amazing professors. The one I had the most was Dr. McCoy, who was so great. I think she's by trade, she was like a family
LMFT,
a marriage and family therapist, and she was just so amazing. Like, she made my experience so wonderful in the financial therapy. Or I ended up joining the Financial Therapy Association, which for students is only $50, so that's a good. And I forgot to even mention this, but most professional organizations, if you are a student, you can get dirt sheet membership dues. So for instance, Financial Planning Association is $50. The Financial Therapy Association is $50. So I figured, okay, I'm going to try all of these while I'm in school and they're cheap. And I'm going to stick with the ones that I get the most value out of once I graduate.
Great. I would say too, just coming from this FIRE ideology, I would recommend everyone really check out those resources like the J.L. Collins book and others, because I'm finding that a lot of the traditional financial planning curricula is sort of around how do you retire at the standard age. It almost teaches people to do that, but there's some really interesting stuff that teaches people just a little bit beyond that. How would you, even if your goal isn't to retire early, how would you become really wealthy well in advance of that age to where you can be able to work out of your passion and impact, not just the requirement to work till the standard age. So I think everyone in the financial planning community should be thinking about those things.
I think that's so true. That's what I'm fighting for, because, you know, when I was looking at retiring super early, it's like I am nowhere near close to 59 and a half. So where am I going to get my money from if I'm going to get penalized? So that's when I had to learn a ton about the different things that, you know, is written into the tax code where you can get your money out and start living on it way earlier than, you know, that 59 and a half, and just transitioning to what you really want to do, or, you know, not having to, you know, trade your time for a paycheck and do more things that you're passionate about. So I would love to see more of that in the financial planning world, because like you said, everything that I was reading always said, oh yeah, after 59 and a half, you can do this. You hit 62, you can get Social Security. None of that was like helpful to me. So I had to kind of create my own plan, if you will. So yeah. So Chris, do you want to close this out? I can hang on a little bit afterwards as well, but I figured we might as well close it out for the purposes of the recording.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for participating tonight. Like Jackie said, everything's going to be posted. And if you have any questions, you can stay. We're going to be hanging around for a couple more minutes. So thank you everyone, and thank you from the GSC too.
Bye-bye. Thank you.